Hey, it's 4:20 p.m. here at the Howling Moon Studios, in Northern California. Hope you're all doing really, really well. Hope you've had a very, very good week. I'm excited to be back here. I have had a remarkable week. Moonalice was in the studio this week and spent 4 days recording new music for you and for us too. And it was an extraordinary experience. We were here with our dear friend Dave Way, who has done all of our albums, and we were in this very room. And, you know, we were COVID safe, so Lester and Dylan were outside when the band was inside. You know, when they did their actual vocals, they came inside because nobody else was in here. And, you know, we had it set up to be super COVID safe. And, but what's really amazing about it was how much we got done. You know, the goal when you go into a studio is if you can do 4 songs for basic tracks in a day, and then the next day you do the vocals for those 4 songs, that's really productive. And we did basically twice that. We did 7 songs the first day, and they were all ones that we did with Dylan Altman, so they from our songwriting session. So you guys haven't heard them, although I've played the 2 I wrote. I've played for you, but they're going to sound so much better as the band. And then we did 8 songs acoustic. And many of those you've heard before because they're songs we already play. We just played acoustic versions of them, but even there we played some new stuff. And so we wound up with 15 songs in total from 2 days of tracking and then 2 days of vocal overdubs. And we'll start putting those out, I think the first one will come out in November. And they will come out boom, 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 boom after that. I'm going to have a conversation with Network and see if we can't speed up the cadence. We've been doing every 5 weeks, but we're going to go to something I think more frequent than that. And we're going to start to play these songs in the shows that are coming up this coming month. Because some of these I think are, I mean, I hope you like them as much as we do. We think some of these are some of the best that, you know, we play, and right up there with the songs we like best. And, you know, I think there's a tendency when you write new music to feel that way, but I think some of this is actually like that, and I'm really hopeful that you're going to groove on it big time. Lester wrote a song that it's just wonderful, and I hope that'll be the first one we put out because it's really something else. And anyway, we're all in a really good frame of mind, and it was really fun. So it happens. Today is the 27th of August. 102 years ago on this very day, my mother was born. And I obviously I owe everything to my mother. I'm very fond of her. She passed away in 2011. But there's a song that I do that you all have heard many times that was really important to her, and it was absolutely her favorite of the songs I do, and I'm going to do this to honor her on her birthday. I heard there was a magic chord that Elvis played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do ya? It goes like this: the 4th, the 5th, the minor fall, the major lift, baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty and the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to your kitchen chair. She broke your throne, she cut your hair. From your lips she drew the hallelujah, hallelujah. hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Baby, I've been here before. I know this room, and I've walked the floor. You know I lived alone before I knew you. I've seen your flag on the marble arch. Love is not a victory march, it's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. You say I took the name in vain. I don't even know the name, and if I did, well, really, what's it to you? There's a blaze of light in every word. It doesn't matter which you heard, the holy or the broken. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. I did my best, it wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I tried to touch. Told the truth, I didn't mean to fool you. And even though it all went wrong, I kneel before the Lord of song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. You know, the thing about mothers, right, is that everybody has one. And there's no way to fill the hole when they're gone. And my mother was pretty amazing. I mean, I think all of our mothers are amazing in some way. Mine was amazing because, you know, she grew up in an era where women were not encouraged to have careers. But she wanted to be a journalist, and it was the Second World War, and she was a journalist during the Second World War. And I think her high point of journalism was she actually got to do a short interview with Winston Churchill, which is kind of amazing. But she married my father and during the war, and my father survived the war, and afterwards they, actually beginning in 1944, they started to have a family. And so she had 3 kids in the course of basically 4 years. And then a couple years later, she had a 4th one and then adopted 3 of my first cousins. And then she got pregnant again with me. And my sister, who would have been my older sister, but she was 2.5 years old, she died of cancer very suddenly. And, you know, I was going to be there 8 years younger than the sister above that. And so my mom had another kid. And so she wound up, by the time she was 36 or 37, she had 8 kids in the house. It's quite a lot. And once the kids started to get old enough, she went back to having a career. She didn't go back to journalism. She got involved in, first, a charity And then she started a bookstore and did rare books, did very well. And when my father died, and he died very young, she got involved in the business he'd started and did that. She was definitely a very inspiring person. And, you know, I watched her, and, you know, so as I was growing up, to me, the notion of women as sort of superpowered people, that seemed normal. Because here's my mom with 8 kids and a job. And, you know, society, for whatever reason, culturally, we still don't understand the notion of respecting every human being and recognizing that each person is entitled to a dream and that we should be supportive of that. But my parents really believed in that, and they really drilled that into me. And if I'm, you know, if I leave any lesson with anybody, I hope it's that one. That, you know, it's really important not to be an asshole in life. So, anyway, this next song is by my dear friend Jeff Pearson, and it's a song that when I first heard it just blew my mind. Read between the lines and you may get to know yourself. Take a couple chances, give your heart to someone else. Open up your eyes and put your bullets on the shelf. Make a lot of love when you feel down. So breathe a little easier, the pace will come to you. Gaze a little wider, let the answers shine on through. But answers are elusive, there ain't nothing I can do. Make a lot of love when you feel down. Feel down. When all around you cancer, swimming in blue. John Lennon died to save us, and I will save you too. Bathe your heart in burgundy. Make a lot of love when you feel down. So read between the lines and you may get to know yourself. Take a couple chances, give your heart to someone else. Open up your eyes and put your bullets on the shelf. Make a lot of love. Make a lot of love. Make a lot of love when you feel down. Do 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 do. So, you know, I'm feeling loquacious today. I apologize in advance. But when you watch television news, or if you read the paper or read it online, and you read about what's going on at Mar-a-Lago, and you sit here and you realize, Reality Winner spent, 5 years in jail for, I think, taking one page and making it public. And other people who were actual spies did things that were much more like what Trump did, and they went to prison for really long periods of time. And yet, almost everybody out there is making excuses for this. I mean, there are plenty of people saying this is obviously a major crime, but they're all like bending over backwards, almost turning into pretzels to try to make the process go as slowly as possible, despite what certainly appears to be cut and dried evidence of obvious criminal behavior and quite possibly treasonous behavior. And it's like, the legal system isn't designed to handle this kind of behavior by the President of the United States. And attempting to use normal legal process on this is bound to run into all kinds of problems. I think you have to recognize that when you have a thing that's extraordinary this way, when it's really obvious that the President of the United States has not observed his oath of office, has not put the needs of the United States first, that essentially requires a unique response. And, I wish that we were capable of approaching it that way, because it sure doesn't look like we are. Childhood living is easy to do. The things that you wanted, I bought them for you. Graceless lady, you know who I am. You know I can't let you slide through my wild horses couldn't drag me away. Wild horses couldn't drag me away. I watched you suffer, a dull ache and pain. Now you decided to show me the same. No sweeping exit, horror stage line could make me feel bitter, treat you unkind. Wild horses couldn't drag me away. couldn't drag me away. I know I dreamed you sin and lie. I have my freedom. I don't have much time. Faith has been broken. Tears must be cried. Let's do some living. After we die. Wild horses couldn't drag me away. Wild horses, we'll ride them someday. Wild horses couldn't drag me away. Wild, wild horses, we'll ride them someday. So the thing with Trump, right, it's that it's not just him, right? It's literally everybody around him. And most of the political party, the formal political party that he represents. And, you know, the question is, as a country, are we going to tolerate elected officials who openly advocate an end to democracy and, you know, want to undermine people's ability to vote and want to take rights away from people and not respect them? Is that something we think should be encouraged or discouraged? Because if you think it should be discouraged, then you want to take pretty forceful action here, because by not acting on it for many, many years, right? I mean, because the seeds of this were planted a long time ago. You know, Barry Goldwater, then under Reagan, and W. Yeah, so, and obviously Nixon after Goldwater. So, you know, my view is that we should all care enough to do something about this. Anyway, this next song, it's a song I really like by Alison Krauss. Just started playing it I used to play it and then stopped for decades and picked it up recently. Steel rails, chasing sunshine round the bend, winding through the trees like a ribbon in the wind. I don't mind not knowing what lies down the track, 'cause I'm looking out ahead to keep my mind from turning back. It's not the first time found myself alone at dawn. If I really had you once, then I'd have you when I'm gone. Whistle blowing, blowing lonesome in my mind, calling me along that never-ending metal line. Steel rails, chasing sunshine round the bend, winding through the trees like a ribbon in the wind. I don't mind not knowing what lies down the track, 'cause I'm looking out ahead, keep my mind from turning back. Sun is shining through that open boxcar door, calling me away to the things I've known before. I've lost count of the hours and days and times. Rhythm of the rails keeps the motion in my mind. Steel rails, chasing sunshine round the bend, winding through the trees like a ribbon in the wind. I don't mind not knowing what lies down the track, 'cause I'm looking out ahead to keep my mind from turning back. Steel rails, chasing sunshine round the bend, winding through the trees like a ribbon in the wind. I don't mind not knowing what lies down the track, 'cause I'm looking out ahead to keep my mind from turning back. 'Cause I'm looking out ahead, keep my mind from turning back. So we got a whole bunch of shows coming up in September and into early October. And they won't quite finish our year, but they're pretty much going to finish our year. And it's sort of, we're going to go up into the Sierras and foothills and all that. And, we'll be coming back basically into San Francisco for Hardly Strictly Bluegrass on the Sunday, first Sunday in October. And then that Friday, we're going to be playing, which I think is the 4th, outdoors at the Chapel in San Francisco in a double bill with Summer of Soul, the documentary about the Harlem Culture Festival of 1969, which features the Chambers Brothers so incredibly prominently. And that's also in conjunction with Hardly Strictly Bluegrass. And so we really hope that if you're anywhere near the Bay Area, you'll come out both for our show at Bluegrass and then also for the Friday night show. We're going to be playing a lot of our new stuff, particularly at the Friday show where we'll have more time. And we're going to, we may have one or two more shows before the end of the year after that, but we're going to go dark for a while just because Erica's going to have a baby. And, we went through this before, and it makes way more sense to just, get everything in the household straight before you get back on the road. So, we'll probably take the first few months of the year off and, and maybe the last couple months of this year off, but meanwhile, we'll be just pumping stuff out in terms of the recorded music, because there is so much more to come, including all the stuff you haven't heard yet. So all that's going to be a ton of fun. I want to send this out to Gail Barnes. Sunlight through a hotel window, marina swaying wide, gentle swells and harbor smells, afternoon and night, voices from the cafe tables, the soundtrack for their life. She dreamed he'd be a memory soon, he dreamed she'd be his wife. He said, I think you're lovely. He said, you always glow. He said, you thrill me like no other, and forevermore. He said, you take my breath away. You're perfect, this I know. She turned to him and said, I'm glad you think so. Twilight turns to evening, evening turns to night. A heartbeat slows and traffic flows, artificial light. Voices from the street below, voices in his head. And from a dream she stood before him, this is what he said. He said, I think you're lovely. He said, you always glow. He said, you thrill me like no other, and forevermore. He said, you take my breath away. You're perfect, this I know. She turned to him and said, I'm glad you think so. She said, I'm glad you think that I'm as perfect as can be. I only wish I saw in you the things you see in me. With that she turned and left him, standing by the door. And as she disappeared, he cried an echo, forevermore. He said, I think you're lovely. You know you always glow. You know you thrill me like no other, and forevermore. You know you take my breath away. You're perfect, this I know. And in his head she said, I'm glad you think so. In his head she said, I'm glad you think so. In his head she said, I'm glad you think so. Maybe it's the color of the sun cut flat I am covering, the crossroads I'm standing at. Maybe it's the weather, something like that. Mama, you've been on my mind. I don't mean trouble, please don't put me down or get upset. I am not pleading, saying I can't forget you. I do not pace the floor, bow down and beg, but yeah, Mama, you've been on my mind. Even though my eyes are hazy and my thoughts, they might be narrow, where you been don't bother me or bring me down in sorrow. It don't even matter where you're waking up tomorrow, Mama, you're just on my mind. I'm not asking you to say words like yes or no, please understand me. I have no place I'm calling you, just whispering to myself so I cannot pretend that I don't know that, Mama, you've been on my mind. When you wake up in the morning, baby, look inside your mirror. You know I won't be next to you, you know I won't be near to you. Just be curious to know if you can see yourself as clear as someone who has had you on his mind. Maybe it's the color of the sun cut flat I am covering, the crossroads I'm standing at. Maybe it's the weather, something like that. Mama, you've been on my mind. Mama, you've been on my mind. Mama, you've been on my mind. If you guys have ever heard the Bob Dylan bootleg from the Rolling Thunder Review, there's just an epic version of that with Joan Baez. And I mean, you know, the thing about Bob is he has so many amazing songs. You know, it's like the Beatles. You want to play them all, but that's the very first time I've ever played that, you know, in public. And I've been thinking about it for years and just really like it. So this next song, I don't know if you guys have read the autobiography of Keith Richards. If you haven't, I got to be honest with you, I'm not huge on music biographies. A lot of them are really disappointing. But Keith, for me, was pretty epic. You know, I think he's relatively honest about himself, and he's really interesting. And he tells a lot of stories about Graham Parsons, because back in the days of Sticky Fingers, Graham was hanging with the Stones and basically teaching them Bakersfield kind of country music. You know, so if you think back to Sticky Fingers, there's a bunch of that on there, right? Sweet Virginia is on, it's on Exile on Main Street, but, you know, that song came out of it, and, you know, there are other songs that come out of that. So that period, Sticky Fingers and Exile. And in the book, Keith talks about the fact that, you know, he was a user of very heavy drugs, but in the United Kingdom, he was able to get his heroin from the National Health Service. And what was interesting was that, you know, every time they gave you a thing of heroin, which was really pure, they would also give you like an equivalent amount of cocaine in order to help kind of reset you when you were coming down. And so he was totally used to that, and he was really careful about his dosages, and he explained the whole thing about how to make it work. So if you will, I don't tend that way, but if you did tend that way, it's very much a how-to manual. But then he talks about Graham Parsons, and apparently Graham was not even remotely careful about this stuff. And Keith said the only time he ever thought he was going to die was when he was hanging with Graham Parsons. Not because Graham was a bad guy, but just because Graham was not careful about the source of the entertainment products he used. And of course, it didn't end well for Graham, which is, you know, at least for me, always one of those things that he's like so many of the folks, you know, Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin, you know, who died way too young in that period, the very early 70s. You know, you just wonder. I mean, wouldn't it be cool to go see a Jimi Hendrix show now? And wouldn't it be cool to go see Graham Parsons? Anyway, he wrote this song. Well, I sold the farm and took my woman where she longed to be. We left our kin and all our friends back there in Tennessee. I bought those one-way tickets she had often begged me for. It took us to the streets of Baltimore. When her heart was filled with gladness when she saw those city lights, she said the prettiest place on earth was Baltimore at night. Well, a man feels proud to give his woman what she's longing for. I kinda like the streets of Baltimore. Then I got myself a factory job. I ran an old machine. I bought bought a little cottage in a neighborhood serene. And every night when I'd come home with every muscle sore, she dragged me through the streets of Baltimore. Well, I did my best to bring her back to what she used to be. Then I soon learned she loved those bright lights more than she loved me. But I'm going back that same train that brought me here before. My baby walks the streets of Baltimore. While my baby walks the streets of Baltimore. So next week, I'm going to pre-record the show. So I will have a show next week, but it won't be live. And the reason it won't be live is, well, I think it's a good reason. So my baseball team, the Phillies, are coming to San Francisco. They're playing Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and Sunday afternoon. I'm going to go to all 3 games. Now, here's the thing. I'm a crazy baseball fan, and I think most of you who follow Moonalice know that within our band, we have a lot of people who are crazy baseball fans. I mean, Barry, he follows the Giants like really closely, and Jason follows the Mets like really closely, and I follow the Phillies really closely, and Derek follows the Cleveland Indians really closely, and Dave Way, who's our engineer and all, he follows the Dodgers really closely, and everybody else goes along with this. And, for several of us, like for Jason, like the Mets are really amazing this year. And they have killed the Phillies. The Phillies have an unbelievable record. If you look at the record minus the Mets, they've won 2/3 of their games. But the Mets have won 3/4 of the games between the two of them. And the Mets, they just they've been disappointing for a number of years. And this is a big year for Jason. I'm really, really happy for him. It's a terrible year for Barry because obviously the Giants last year won 105 or 107 games, and this year they're just barely over 500. But the Phillies, my team, they haven't been to playoffs since 2011. And realistically, they've actually been horrible every year until last year. And last year, they weren't horrible, but it was only they weren't horrible by just a tiny amount. They collapsed in September, and they may do that again this year. But they're way better than they've been. And their best player has been out since middle of June. And somehow they started the year just horrible, and they just were getting killed. And they fired their manager, and they promoted the bench coach. And, normally that's like not going to produce great results, but somehow it produced a miracle, and the team has won 2/3 of its games since that guy became manager. And in baseball, if you win 2/3 of your games, you're doing great. And it's now a ton of games. And their best player has been out since shortly after they changed managers. And so somehow, they didn't collapse because their best player was the MVP last year, the most valuable player. And so that's, you lose somebody like that, you don't expect to keep winning. And somehow they did. And he just came back yesterday. And so, people are pretty energized. And so I'm going to go to the games next week, which is a long way of saying we're going to pre-record the show. Patrick's agreed. And, it's, I want to play it. I just want to go to the game too. Someday we'll share love's magical glow, dancing from twilight to dawn. Starlight and moonbeams reflect in our eyes. We twirl in love on the lawn. Someday we'll travel the backcountry roads to places that we've never been. Butterflies, hummingbirds, bumblebees roam with creatures that we've never seen. Someday's the end of a journey, someday's its own reward. Gold at the end of a rainbow, we never stop searching for. Someday, someday, someday. Someday we'll stay in a house near the park in a city that rocks all night long. Catch a musical show about some plains in the dark where everyone knows all the songs. Someday's more than a journey, someday's its own reward. Gold at the end of a rainbow, we never stop searching for. Someday, someday, someday. Someday is coming, what we have to do is hang on. What we have to do is hang on. Someday we'll come to the end of the road, whatever place we may find. Till then, tomorrow's a nice sunny someday. Sit back, relax, and unwind. Someday's more than a journey, someday's its own reward. Gold at the end of a rainbow, we never stop searching for. Someday, someday, someday. It was down in old Joe's barroom, the corner by the square. The usual crowd was assembled, and Big Joe McNamee was there. He was standing at my shoulder. His eyes were bloodshot red. He turned to the crowd around him. These are the very words he said. What'd he say, Jack? I went down to St. James Infirmary. I saw my baby there. She was laid out on a cold white table. So cold, so young, so fair. Well, let her go, God bless her. Wherever she may be, she may search this wide world over, and she'll never find a sweet man like me. When I die, bury me in a high-top Stetson hat. Put a $20 gold piece on my watch chain, so God will know I died standing pat. I want 6 crap shooters for pallbearers, a chorus gonna sing me a song. Put a jazz band on my hearse wagon, raise hell as I roll along. And let her go, God bless her. Wherever she may be, she may search this wide world over, and she'll never find a sweet man like me. Roll out your rubber-tired carriage, roll out your road-time hack. 12 men going to the graveyard, 11 men coming back. And now that I've told my story, I take another shot of booze. If anyone should happen to ask me, I got those gambler blues. So let her go, God bless her, wherever she may be. She may search this wide world over, and she'll never find a sweet man like me. Yeah, she may search this wide world over, and she'll never find a sweet man. No, she'll never find a sweet man. No, she'll never find a sweet man like me. So I learned that song from Ramblin' Jack Elliott. And many of you, if you live in the Bay Area, you've met Ramblin' Jack, seen him. And, you know, this is a man who, I mean, he's really special. He transcends time in so many ways because, you know, he was there when the folk revival started in the 50s. And he's still around now. And so it's like, you go, I mean, how old is he, right? He's getting older. But he still does it. And I'll never forget, just a few years ago, Jason and I were playing one of our Sunday shows at Sweetwater, and Jack came by, and he asked if he could sit in. And it was like, right, what's the shortest unit of time in the universe? Is how long it takes me to say yes to that. I mean, oh my God, chance to play with Ramblin' Jack. And we did a bunch of songs with him. And one of the things I noticed is he has a really interesting approach to time. And I think, you know, the same thing is true of a bunch of folk of his generation, right? Willie Nelson, very interesting approach to time. I mean, the Dead had an amazing approach to time, right? The Dead kind of played where the one, the first beat of the phrase, could be any beat along the way. And they were, and that ability to be so effectively at peace with the song that it's, you know, there's a song written on paper, there's a song you record, but there's the song that comes out of you when you play. And the whole trick there is to have that be genuine and in the moment. And so for these folk who have developed this approach to time, they have just a gigantic advantage. And I've spent my entire life trying to get there. And, you know, I don't think they were born with it. I think they developed it over time. So I think there's, you know, I keep hoping there'll be hope for me. Well, if you have a plan to motor west, take the highway that's the best. Get your kicks on Route 66. Where to wind from Chicago to L.A. 2,000 miles all the way. Get your kicks on Route 66. When it goes from St. Louis down to Missouri, Oklahoma City, it's so pretty you'll see. Amarillo, got up New Mexico. Flagstaff, Arizona, don't forget Winona, Kingman, Barstow, San Bernardino. Where have you get hip to this timely tip? Won't you take that California trip? Get your kicks on Route 66. Well, it goes from St. Louis down through Missouri, Oklahoma City, and it's oh so pretty. You'll see Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona, don't forget Winona, Kingman, Barstow, San Bernardino. Wherever you want to keep through this honey tip, won't you take that California trip? Get your kicks on Route 66. Get your kicks on Route 66. Get your kicks on Route 66. I want to send this next one out to Rupert, Owen, and Alice. Pacific breezes carry sounds of laughter and of tears, of people's grand adventures, happiness and fears, people taking risks, of people losing all, of people getting up again every time they fall. That's right. Some paddle out at daybreak, some paddle out at night, some won't paddle out at all for fear a shark may bite. Some live near the mountains, some live near the bay, some live every moment of every single day. That's right. Let me take your hand, my friend, join you on your way. A journey home, a million steps, begins from here this day. Break out from your whole comfort zone, escape the prison you call home. Awaken dreams of things postponed, of things postponed. Live a little, love a little, do it all the time. Eat a little, smoke a little, little's not a crime. Have a little, share a little, little in return. Buy a little, sell a little, let a little burn. That's right, 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 that's right. You have a perfect home, a perfect job, a perfect dog. Maybe just the opposite, a mud hole in a bog. Maybe in the middle, where the days are all the same. Maybe you just wonder if it's you that is to blame. That's right. Let me take your hand, my friend, join you on your way. A journey road, a million steps, begins from here this day. Break out from your comfort zone, escape the prison you call home. Awaken dreams of things postponed, of things postponed. Live a little, love a little, do it all the time. Eat a little, smoke a little, little's not a crime. Have a little, share a little, little in return. Buy a little, sell a little, let a little burn. That's right, that's right, right. That's 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 right. So I don't know what kind of experience those of you who've had COVID have had. For me, it's been going on longer than I would like. So I had, I think I told you this before. I had 2 bouts of it, 5 or 6 positive days at the beginning, but with Paxlovid, and then 3 days where I was negative, and then 6 more days of being positive, with basically the same intensity as the first time. So super high fever for a day or 2 at the beginning, medium fever for 2 or 3 days after that, and then all kinds of other symptoms. Anyway, so I've been now negative for the last 2 weeks, but I still have a headache and fatigue, and my lungs still feel like crap. And, I just want everybody to take care of themselves, right? Because the variants that are out there right now, they may not kill you, but it's pretty obvious that they can have a long-lasting effect. And I don't want anybody to go through that. I sure as hell don't want to go through it. I'm hoping this is only something that lasts for a few weeks. But it's, when they say that you got to be careful about this stuff, I think we should all take them really seriously. When I was young, I was all supposed. My luck was bad, and I could never score. Every day was strange, then my fortunes changed. I fell in love like never before. I fell in love when you first walked through that door. And every day I love you more and more. More and more and more. More and more and more. Every day I love you more and more. I look at you, I can't believe you're real. 'Cause in every way, you are my ideal. I'm living in a dream, weed and wine and ice cream. You have to know how great you make me feel. Love when you first walk through that door. And every day I love you more and more. More and more and more. More and more and more. Every day I love you more and more. I can't pretend to be in cool. You can see through me like glass. My cards are facing up again. You always know what's up again. When I'm out of line, you're there to kick my ass. I was saying, darling, I fell in love when you first walked through that door. And every day I love you more and more. More and more and more. More and more and more. Every day I love you more and more. More and more and more. More and more and more. Every day I love you more and more. This one's Patrick. There's a man who leads a life of danger. To everyone he meets, he stays a stranger. With every move he makes, another chance he takes, odds are he won't live to see tomorrow. Secret agent man, secret agent man, they're giving you a number, taking away your name. Beware those pretty faces you may find. A pretty face can't hide an evil mind. Be careful what you say, don't give yourself away. Odds are you won't live to see tomorrow. Secret agent man, secret agent man, they're giving you a number, taking away your name. Swinging on the Riviera one day, then laying in a Bombay alley the next day. Don't let the wrong words slip while you kiss persuasive lips. The odds are you won't live to see tomorrow. Secret agent man, secret agent man, they're giving you a number, taking away your name. All right, I'm going to close it off with a song that I think is super important because, you know, I suspect there are not that many people under the age of 30 who are watching right now. But if there were, the thing I would say to anybody who's 30 and under is that young people represent the largest cohort in the American population. So they're more people under, you know, between 18 and 30 than there are baby boomers who are left. Which means that if they voted, like imagine if young people voted at a 70% rate instead of the 22% or whatever it is that they vote at now, they would be in charge. Literally, their priorities would become the nation's priorities. So climate change, gun control, student loan forgiveness, those things would go from being issues that's really hard to get anybody to focus on to being the centerpiece of everything that goes on here. Obviously, reproductive freedom and all the other issues that younger people have shown a really great interest in, all those things would be more important. And so, to me, the big thing all of us can do for younger people is say, look, you actually have control of all of this. Just do it. You know, pull a Nike, go for it. And if you're wondering what to do, just listen to this song. Come gather around people wherever you roam. Admit that the waters around you have grown. Accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. Your time to you is worth saving. You'd better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone. For the time they are a-changing. Come writers and critics who prophesize with your pen. Keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. Don't speak too soon, 'cause the wheels didn't spin. There's no telling who that it's naming. The news and now be later to win. For the times they are a-changing. Come senators and congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall. For he who gets hurt be he who has stalled. There's a battle outside and it's raging. It'll soon shake your windows and rattle your walls. For the times, they are a-changing. Come mothers and fathers throughout the land, don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters beyond your command. The old road is rapidly aging. Get off of the new one if you can lend a hand. For the times, they are a-changing. The line it is drawn, the curse it is cast. Slow now, later be fast. Is the present now, later be past. The order is rapidly fading. The first one now will later be last. As the times they are a-changing. For the times they are a-changing. For the times they are a-changing. Thank you all for watching. Again, Moonalice is about to go back out on the road starting in 2 weeks. And we'll be playing in like Auburn, Santa Rosa, lots of places. And so just go to moonalice.com/tour and see all the dates. And if we're coming near you, I hope you'll turn out for it. We would really like to see you. We'd like you to hear the new material. And, you know, we're going to be taking some time off. So let's all get together and enjoy outdoor shows in the good weather while we can. And just know that community is what makes everything worthwhile. And that's what we're about. And music is a really good excuse to bring people together and to find joy. And that's our goal. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. And again, I will see you next weekend, but with a pre-recorded show because I am going to go to the ball games. And that's the highlight of my year when the Phillies come to town. And this year, I hope they can win because it really matters for them. Anyway, take really good care of yourselves. And we'll see you again next week. Thank you, Patrick.